be right is to give us a bit of a recap. We looked at the idea that it's a biblical call to defend our faith, to be able to preach the gospel, yes, but also to defend our faith. We looked at the faith doctrine and basically looking at the stuff we already believe that helps us to be armed and ready to give information to the world that they need to be convinced of. We looked into many things there as well. I'm going to ask us just for any thoughts on anything we learned from yesterday in a moment. But just I got several questions at the end, and they're very common questions that I get. And sometimes there's not always a perfect little answer for everything. And I was asked about, and I'm sure other people had this in their mind, the multiverse. So one of the questions that's often asked is, well, okay, our planet's well designed, it's got everything it needs, fine-tuned, but there's probably multiple universes. So that deals with that now. Well, let's not worry about that. Okay, so the first issue with that is that it's a hypothesis that cannot be tested, and it cannot be falsified. Because why? We haven't reached the end of our own universe yet. We haven't got any equipment, microscopes that can enable us to find the end of our own universe to know and test and prove where there's other universes out there. So what I'm just saying is people can often throw out a theory about anything and say, but what about this possible theory? Well, I can neither test or prove it, so I don't really know what to say to that, because I can't test or prove the theory you're throwing out there, to be honest. So the other thing I was asked about was fine-tuning. About the idea that, well, we just happen to be on the earth that was fine-tuned as it is. The one thing I'd say to that, I mean, it's more scientific to investigate, but what I would say is what we see indicates intelligence, and therefore I think it's only right that we examine. Why do I say it indicates intelligence? Well, the universe is only an extrapolation of our everyday life. If we find, like I described my daughters, we find their names together in the shop. If I find multiple, if we see something that looks designed and organized, we conclude that there's a mind behind it. That's all we know. We don't know anything else. Therefore, the universe is an extension of that. If it's all designed a certain way, we know that there's something behind it. It's only right that we would examine that. Again, there's a couple of questions I was asked, but anyway, anything anyone would like to share that we got out of yesterday, something that got them thinking, any particular thing that helped, something that they want to use, or anything they'd like to share just about yesterday? Yep. James, isn't it?
Yeah, James.
I'm picking up on some names, sorry that I don't remember everything.
Yeah, well, it was just fantastic lesson. I took so many things from it. The one main thing that I took was not only can we have practical answers to questions that we may have when sharing our faith, but also reassurance for us that God is an active God. He wants to have a relationship with us, and He's left the piece of the puzzle for us to figure out. Like Scripture you told me in Acts.
God has not left Himself without testimony.
Yeah, so no one's done.
Yeah, appreciate it, James. Thanks so much. Yeah,
it was great yesterday, and I think even from what we looked at, it gives just a lot more confidence in knowing. Okay, I've always known and believed this is true, but I can actually show someone who doesn't have that faith that this is the case. But I think also one thing you said that's really helped yesterday was someone who comes across and can seem very argumentative. That's not always their intention. They might just have questions that they want answered. And I think it can be. I think my tendency is when I meet someone and they seem as if they just want to argue, that's when I'm kind of okay, cool. I don't want to get involved in this, but actually no, they might just have genuine questions that they've been really frustrated about for ages and ages, and that's my chance to really thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You're the first person to get the offload to, and it's also, as you say, the gap between knowing we believe it to being able to communicate it to someone else. Yeah, I appreciate it. See your hand up, Richard?
Yeah, I was absolutely amazed by the cosmic vacuum.
Always gets it. Every time.
Just the idea that it's a planet that's sucking up all these asteroids heading to Earth.
Thank goodness.
For someone to look at that and think, well, that's just an accident, we're just lucky, we're just fortunate. I never knew that personally.
Yeah, it always gets the same reaction, the cosmic vacuum cleaner.
I think you did such a great job, like the whole thing, but I think 1 Peter 3, about how we are almost commanded to have a defense, to have a defense sort of thing, and that is translated to apologia, which is apologetics, and like how that's not just someone's hobby or interest, but it's actually everyone's like we all need to have sort of like answers and stuff to defend our faith in the gospel. So I think I'll take that with me.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because that's something I really want to get. Because once I got that myself, it made so much difference. Not just a hobby or interest, but actually called to do so.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Anyone?
Yeah, I absolutely loved yesterday, and I think I love the fact that we're looking at science and things that people can assume disqualify God to glorify Him more. And I personally feel so inspired, particularly by everything you said about the fine-tuning argument. Just how it highlights that there's intelligence that
Yeah.
behind us, and I think even the fact that we could go back and we could spend time with my auntie and like speak about different things was amazing because we were empowered by the information that you gave. So that was really wonderful.
Yeah. It's often said that the body of science came about because the Christians observed the world and seen that it was in an orderly fashion, and therefore we can come up with measurements in order to explain this. And the Christians were behind science, and then it's been hijacked, unfortunately, the other way nowadays. So we can reclaim it again. Anyone else? Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing. We'll get many opportunities to share this. Hopefully this session will be a bit more interactive, a bit more discussion about what we're doing. But today's all about defending the faith. So it's the title's defending the faith. So what we want to do, there's the scripture that was mentioned. As I said yesterday, we've all been affected by the fact that Christian faith is challenged more than ever. I certainly think that, and many people I spoke to think that. Many of the stuff I see online, it seems like it's challenged more than ever. And this is the scripture I put out yesterday. But in our hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. As it was said, always be prepared, apologia. Always be ready to defend and explain why it is we have hope. Why we cling on to that hope, yet society loses that hope and goes in a different direction. 1 Peter 3:15. But the question then today is, well, what do we need then to respond effectively? Because we know that everybody does not feel this way about what we hold to. So what do we need to respond effectively? Anybody any thoughts? So share a couple of things here, but any sort of quick things that comes to anyone's mind. What's the big broad question?
Patience.
Patience, yeah. Like what you've just said before, Tosin. Patience, absolutely. Huge. You need to pray for that. Anything else? Yeah.
They not come across like offensive. Quite difficult.
Yeah.
Attack and then attack back.
Yeah. And maybe Jesus sent us out 2 by 2 because the other person can reflect back to you later on and say, you're a bit defensive there whenever someone said that. Because you not always notice it yourself. I appreciate that, yeah.
I think there's almost a talent to be able to listen effectively. You can listen actively without actually listening.
Yeah.
But having a genuine interest in the
Yeah.
other person and a love for the person.
Yeah. As we were talking about this morning, I never really get anyone's name when they tell me because I'm usually thinking of what I'm going to say next to them. I am a better. Was it Scott? Yeah. Well, I did it this morning then. I've only just met you then. Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
I was going to say, like, there's a call to really know your faith and to be so secure in it, so like you're not going to be challenged, and you're not going to get defensive, you're not going to feel attacked just by presenting the truth.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And I think that's where I went, where I feel like we're all going to have to deal with doubts. We're all going to have questions and doubts and issues in our faith from time to time. And the only way we can be like that is if we deal with them. And we actually seek answers, pray, do whatever we need to do to seek answers. I appreciate some of the answers there. Some of the things I have down here, and again, the tactics book, again, this is the book. If you haven't read it already, why not? But if you haven't read it already, just get it. It's extremely useful. It's what really today's lesson is going to come from. So some of the things we talked about that we need to respond effectively are knowledge. It's unavoidable. We need to have knowledge, which may have came from our own research for ourselves. To be prepared to give an answer, we need to know what that answer is going to entail. We just unavoidably we are going to have some level of knowledge. It doesn't mean being professors, having PhDs or doing masters or even doing degrees. It just means you've done some research yourself into why you believe what you believe and how you explain that to other people. Are we prepared? I asked this question yesterday. Are we prepared or ill-prepared to respond to today's key issues? Because that's what really matters. God, as I said yesterday, He makes His appeal through us. Anyone remember the scripture that came from? God makes His appeal through us. 2 Corinthians 5. God makes His appeal through us. So what we need and want to make the best appeal. We should want to make the best possible appeal that we can. As we looked at yesterday, some strange statistics about how kids are banning the church in some quarters because no one could answer the questions. It's almost just a terrible predicament to hear that that's happened at the scale that it was happening in the religious world. So we really know we must engage with the key issues of our day, which may mean at some point to engage, it may mean at some point we're going to be caught with no answers. Remember I said yesterday, have we ever been caught with not knowing what to say? We've all been in that situation before.
Yes.
So what I'm saying from this weekend is to put ourselves in a position where we're in the training ground to learn and be prepared to answer. It's going to unavoidably mean we're going to be in a situation where we don't know what to say. But that's not the point, it's what I do after that. What I then do, having felt that I didn't know what to say to that person. I didn't know how to explain it. They ridiculed so much what I believed that I just carried away. My conviction is that I want to go away and be prepared the next time. It's not about never getting caught out. I get questions all the time. I think I maybe even heard something yesterday. Richard asked me something on the way over and I thought, I've become quite good at getting back to people. I'll get back to you on that, Sandy. I'll get back to you on that. I can't give you an answer right now, but I'll get back to you on what that might be. So don't worry about getting caught. We're maybe going to get caught at certain moments. Don't panic. We'll deal with that some more. We obviously need to pray. What are we going to do to get equipped? We're going to have to pray. We're going to have to ask questions of each other. I'll ask questions of you guys. Some of you guys study physics at university, study things I haven't studied before. I am no expert in these areas, so I'm going to need your help to help me navigate the waters with people who come up with questions on that. We're going to need to study. Again, we need to have knowledge to be equipped to deal with what we have to deal with today. We need to have knowledge, so we will need to study, and we'll also need to listen. And we'll come back to this in a moment. So whatever someone said to us, we need to listen to what they're actually saying. So what do we need to learn about? This is a big question. What do we need to learn about? So what, if I said to you at the minute, that we need to deal with the key issues of our day, who feels overwhelmed or potentially overwhelmed? Okay, you can feel overwhelmed. Let's be honest, there is so many things. We are not here to answer every single question. But I want to give us a principle that came to me only recently about a principle to help us navigate the waters of where do I start? Where do I even start? Here's what I would say, and I think it feels like it's from God. Deal with what you hear. Alright? That's the principle I want to guide us. And what should I actually deal with? Deal with what you hear. In other words, if you hear an objection or a critique of what you believe, and you can't understand or you can't explain that, then that's the time to go away and investigate and figure out how could I respond to that next time. That's all that's expected of us. God's only going to expect that you deal with what you hear. He's not going to expect you to have answers for stuff you've never heard before. Only the stuff. So the question is, are we doing this at this point? And you can keep thinking back to the scales of competence that I looked at yesterday. Are we doing this? Are we dealing with what we hear? So that's the first thing, knowledge. The second thing we're going to look at is communication. So, what does 1 Peter say about communication? What does it say in 1 Peter 3 that we should do it? How should we answer people? Gentleness and respect. Remember yesterday the relief? This guy's getting up advocating that we argue with people. I don't want to do that. I don't like upsetting people. No. Peter says gentleness and respect. He feels a relief when they read that. That's how we're supposed to come across. The best answer we can come up with, if I come up with it later on, this wonderful answer for an objection to the Bible, that answer is useless without love. I'm stating the obvious, we all know this. Let's look at 1 Corinthians 13.
Come on, Simon.
Yes. We know this, but it's good to get reminded and also maybe reflect on previous conversations you've had with maybe family members. They're the ones that get the heated ones sometimes, aren't they? Work colleagues, family members. 1 Corinthians 13 says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. If I become an expert in apologetics, and I've got an answer for every scientific theory that comes up, but I do not have love, I've gained nothing. It's a waste of time. I didn't emphasize this a lot yesterday, because I knew I was going to emphasize a lot today. And I did say it to people in conversations, but please keep this in mind. This is the key. This is what will win people over. It's not having the right answer. It's a dual thing here going on in 1 Peter 3. But it doesn't render as don't be prepared. Be prepared, but then deliver it with love. It's our responsibility to ensure that people are aware of our love. Now what's that mean? Obviously it sounds pretty obvious. But what we can't do is blame other people for our responses. I've had occasions recently where I've been challenged on something. And I've instantly wanted to hit back with lots of stuff. And sometimes that's right, we just go through the details. But sometimes the other person has maybe said something and I've came across the wrong way. And then at the end of it all I thought, well, I was only reacting that way because they seemed a bit impatient, or they asked the question without getting the answer to the first one, or because they weren't listening to me. We've got to not blame other people for our responses. We've got to take responsibility for how we come across, regardless of how they react. So when we go out to share the gospel, when we go out to defend the gospel, and we go out to give answers, their reaction shouldn't determine our reactions. Our reaction is independent of theirs. Now I know this is easier said than done, but again, it's with the goal that we're going to continue to be gentle and respectful. The people need to see the gentleness and respect coming from us, regardless of how they are with us. Another thing, don't throw your pearls to pigs. So, Matthew 7 verse 6.
Come on.
Matthew 7 verse 6, I'm sure we've all heard this before. And how we deliver the gospel, how we defend the gospel. It says in verse 6, do not give dogs what is sacred, do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Be wise. Understand who you're talking to. When I started Apologetics Online, I would put up videos or articles, and then all of a sudden I get these people weighing in with all these really strong views on things. And it's like, there was a certain type of language that I came to associate. And not all atheists, alright, but the ones that I was dealing with, they had this rhetoric that you would always hear, like, your guy got schooled in that last debate, you guys are this, you guys are that. And I would respond to all this stuff and answer back. Then I realised, I'm throwing my pearls to pigs here. This guy just wants to be right. He's just out to put my guy down and school my guy. I don't use language like that. I'm not out to be right. I'm out to debate what's truth. I thought, I'm wasting my time. I'm engaging with a mocker. So what I'd advise, and again, you have to decide on that yourself. Don't engage with a mocker. That's what I'd advise. If you know that someone's just mocking what you're saying, and you pick up on their language, my suggestion is that you need to watch how you respond in there. Are we going to throw our pearls to pigs? So we're going to talk about this more. We're looking for the interested seeker in truth. We're looking for someone specific. We'll talk about that more later on. The person needs to be interested in truth, not in being right. Same with us. I'm not here to be right. What that also means, I don't care about being wrong. I get things wrong. If I say something wrong this weekend, please come and tell me. That wasn't right. People come up and question me. Well, it's not going to make me fall apart. I had an interaction yesterday, just even in here, where someone came up and challenged me on something yesterday. I was like, my instant reaction, oh, I have all these days I can defend myself. I opted for, you know what, I'll take your points on board. Okay, fair enough. You're probably right about that. I must try and communicate that differently in future. And then Richard said, it doesn't seem affected by it. I thought, yeah, I made a decision when I got up here yesterday that I'm not going to let that affect me. I'm not going to let it determine me. I'm not here to be right. I'm going to repeat that a lot. It's important that we love the truth. It's not about being right for us. It's about the truth. I love the truth. I'm looking for people who want to find the truth. Here's a question I asked to see if people are interested in truth or not. I gave it out to a few of us yesterday, and you may have already heard this. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? No? Would you continue? What do you think? If I said to someone, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? And they say no, what do you think? Would you continue?
No.
I know it's a bit of a blanket question. It depends on what they mean and could get into it. What do you think? chances are they're not open, they're not seeking the truth. If paganism were true, I would become a pagan. If Islam is true, I'd become a Muslim. If it's true, I'm going to do it. That's the way it works. I don't care whether I like it. I don't care whether it's the best life. Again, I'll keep rephrasing it. I'm just seeking the truth. So you're telling me that if I could tell you it was true, if God did appear to you in person, with Jesus alongside him, raised from the dead, holds in his hands, you still wouldn't become a Christian? Then I have to say, as far as I can tell from what you're saying, you're not interested in the truth. You want to hold on to what you believe, whether it's true or not. That's what I have to conclude. So, if there's not seeking the truth, personally, I don't think there's much that we can say in that situation. Now, we may need to dig deep into what they really mean, and we'll come to that in a moment as well. But there's something I want to emphasize that, again, I didn't say a lot yesterday. It's going to get warm in here today. And it's all about the fact that we are seeking for an open person. We're going to be seeking for someone that God has drawn to him through grace. Our arguments, our preparation, our defense is not going to help, is not going to make someone become a Christian. They're going to become a Christian because of the grace of God revealed to them through his testimony on this earth, through us as a vehicle of his good news, and that's why they're going to become a Christian. Not our wise words. It's going to be God's grace that draws them. But like Paul in the temple yesterday, he reasoned and proved effectively from the scriptures that Jesus rose from the dead. He convinced people. He didn't say, look, just go and pray about it. Look, you guys should have figured this out by now. I did. You guys should have seen my changed life. He says, I'm going to reason and prove from the scriptures that Jesus died from the dead. And he was so effective that many people became Christians. He helped, God was drawing them through his grace, through Jesus rising from the dead, but he was able to explain and prove from the scriptures. So it's a twofold thing. The result is not dependent on us, but on God. I need to learn this more. It's taken me so long to get this. Does anyone feel results oriented? Anyone feel it? I just come from a world like that. I spent my life just proving myself. And then I started training as a young man, getting into competitions, and just any way I could have to prove myself. Even yesterday, we were jumping up and touching that thing. I'm like, I have to be able to do that. I have to be able to do that. I'm so competitive in my nature. I know this is the way I am. But it's such a relief for me. It's not nothing. It's not about me. The results are all dependent on God. Which is a relief. Sharing the gospel is our task, but it's God's problem. It's our task, but it's God's problem. We have a modest goal. So it's a modest goal, and it's our task. That's what we shared yesterday. We need to prepare the answer. He makes his appeal through us. We've got to go out and spread the good news. How can we not share it? I don't want to share the good news. Do you really believe it's good news? Because if you do, you can't help but want to say something about it. But it's a modest task, because it's God's problem. He's just told us what we need to do. What I was just going to get to do now for maybe 10 minutes or so, just in little groups of maybe about 3, is just discuss amongst yourselves how equipped you feel to deal with objections, how you've been dealing with objections, the problems you've maybe encountered, or how you're dealing with what you hear. Dealing with what you hear. So maybe just for 10 minutes in a group of about 3 of us, you can turn the chairs around, we can come back and share. Again, it's a bit like our sort of scale of competence yesterday. How equipped do we feel? What interactions have we had? Where would we like to grow? You know, that kind of thing. That's about 10 minutes. You all happy enough? Yeah. For that? 10 minutes? Yeah. And then we'll come back. Paul's up about 10 minutes.